Hey guys, Zenith Darksky here with my first game review, and I picked this one's a little weird because it's a demo. It's a demo for the game Outriders. I wanted to give you guys kind of my demo impressions or a review preview kind of for this game based off the demo impressions, I guess, is more what it would be akin to, I guess. But it's going to be Outriders. Now, if you haven't played the Outriders demo already, you should. You need to go play the Outriders demo. It's a very fun game. It's a third-person sci-fi action RPG, looter shooter. When it first came out, a lot of people were. Let me just hit this very right off the bat, okay? When this game first came out, this was supposed to be, or this game first got announced. More like it. This was supposed to be something akin to Destiny and Anthem. People were thinking that, at least. But honestly, I've looked back on it and announcements and different things, and I don't think they ever said anything about MMO-esque mechanics or qualities to it, even though people were relating it to Anthem and Destiny, these games that are third-person looter shooter type games, but they're very, they still have MMO aspects. And now Outriders does have multiplayer where you can randomly matchmake with anybody, or anybody could randomly matchmake with you if you have an open lobby, or you can set it to private or play with friends, or you could solo play or whatever you want to do. But from what I could tell, there's no players in the hub world or your hub or whatever you want to call it. You don't see players out and about like you would on Destiny and stuff like that. So I don't know where that came from. So let me tell you right off the bat, don't relate this game to Destiny or Anthem. Because relating any game to Destiny or Anthem especially is almost a death sentence. So don't do that. I would say this game is more akin to something like Remnant from the Ashes, if you've played that. A little bit easier. From the start, at least, a little bit easier. Now, let me go ahead and tell you guys about the demo really quick. The demo encompasses the first 2 hours of content, maybe. I think they said 3 hours or something, but I was able to get through it in like an hour and a half to 2, and that was still fucking around and stuff. It's fun. The demo is very fun. So understand going into this that the demo is not the full game. It is not the full release. I believe there is a review embargo on the full release of the game. These are just my demo impressions, my preview of this game based on the demo, based on what we can play now, what we have access to now, what we've seen now. Now, let's get into my reviews. My reviews are going to do a 5-point grading system. It was kind of back and forth. I didn't really know where to go with that, but that's what I've decided to do, a 5-point grading system for my types, my reviews and stuff. Now, if I rate a game bad, that does not mean, one, it's probably not going to happen, because I generally enjoy most games, even if they're usually reviewed very poorly in the first place. But either way, if I review a game poorly, tell me about it, for one, in the comments, if you agree or disagree. But two, just, I'm not telling you whether to buy the game or not. There are certain people out there that only have a limited amount of money and they want to hear opinions on games before they purchase them. If you come to my channel and talk to me about critiques or anything like that, reviews or anything on my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/ZenithDarksky, you will find a man who does not like criticism. Not on me, but doesn't like criticism on video games and music and movies. I don't think you should get a say. I don't think critics should have as much sway as people let them have. Ultimately, if the game looks fun to you, get it, play it, it probably will be fun to you. But, having said that, reviews were something that was voted highly for from my community, so here we are, doing a review. I decided to do the 5-point grading system. Let's get into this. First of all, we're going to grade on gameplay, graphics and style, story, content, and fun. I thought I'd throw fun in there, because it could be a bad technical game, but it could still be fun. So anyways, first of all, we're going to start off the gameplay. I gave that a 4 because it's pretty smooth. for the most part, but there are some issues when aiming abilities and abilities sometimes not registering as a hit, because sometimes enemies would come too close, and you know, there's just a few gameplay, just little glitches and stuff like that. Things that are in a demo but might not be in the final product at all. Nothing really to worry about. It's just not perfect, you know? It's just not perfect. And that's very rare to see, and I don't want to give anything a 5 unless I think it perfectly nails what that category is trying to hit. The game is almost too easy sometimes as well. It could be harder. Having said that, I've died on one playthrough one time of the demo and almost died a couple of times on other playthroughs, but generally I haven't. Just that one time. So the game could be harder, but this is just the beginning of the game. But that doesn't mean the game's going to stay easy. You could build your character poorly. You could do any number of things that end up hindering you. You know, they might make the game harder on you or not. Which brings me into something else here for the gameplay is it is an action RPG looter shooter. Most action RPG looter shooters, or most looter shooters in general, let's say Borderlands for instance. I love Borderlands, fantastic games. But they can be a little too easy. Honestly, you could play Borderlands like a dumbass and beat the game, as long as you still hit shots and have, you know, keep upgrading your guns. Like every time you get a new gun, pick the better gun, obviously. This game does not do anything like that to me. This game has a system where I think if you could build your character wrong. I do feel like when looking at the skill tree, looking at the abilities, because certain abilities are stronger than others, certain ones are more defensive, certain ones are more aggressive. I think if you were to build a character too aggressive with not enough defense stats and stuff like that as well, you might end up dying a few times. It might end up being hard. So I would like to say that for a looter shooter action RPG, there is an aspect of depth into this game that I personally don't feel is as deep as other games. Moving on from that, we're going on to graphics and style. I gave it a 5. This game's a beautiful game, no real animation issues, and this was just a demo, so don't get me wrong, they could have really polished this early game part, or, you know, if there are animation issues in it, it might be more polished when the final product comes out, and ideally it should be. But yeah, no real animation issues that can't be ironed out and released. The only time I saw anything like that was like, maybe sometimes, just like, seeing an NPC like kind of move weird or something, but it's not really, nothing really huge. I saw no like T-posing or anything like that, and that's almost always going to happen in a game once in a while when things just aren't rendered fast enough or this or that. But no, I give that a 5. It was beautiful. I really had no issues with animation or anything like that. Beautiful game. Beautiful. Story, I gave a 3 because, again, this is a demo. So from what we got a taste of and what we've seen in trailers and whatnot, the game is fairly intriguing, but nothing extraordinary so far. That doesn't mean it won't be in the final product. It could change when the game releases, but this is kind of a middle of the road, average grade as a placeholder until the game launches. This is just for the demo. There were interesting characters. Some of the voice acting was a little and I felt I put that into graphics as well, graphics and style as well. Just because I didn't want to, you know, have a whole bunch of things to grade on, but it was okay. Like it was enough to have me curious, because you get your powers through this weird phenomenon at the beginning of the game, and that kind of makes you curious as to what's happening. Also, at the very beginning of the demo in the tutorial, there's a character who's kind of a bad guy, and you didn't know that, and he turns on you, and everything hell just starts to break loose. Then you wake up a while later, quite a while later, like years later, and the world is just different. And now you don't know why, and so you've got to cope with that and stuff. So the story is okay, and it makes, you know, it piques the interest, but Nothing stood out extraordinarily to me yet. But I gave it a 3 nonetheless. It's average so far, so I just went with the average grade. For now, when the actual game releases, I'll probably do an actual full game review and tell you what I think about it then. Moving on though to content, I give this a 4 because there's a lot of content packed into the demo for the short time that the demo is, for the short amount of the game that it is. It's no Final Fantasy 15 demo for sure, because I'm sure a lot of you remember the Final Fantasy 15 demos. There was the one where he was a kid, and then there was the demo of Final Fantasy 15 where you could really play and grind a lot. There was a lot to do, and it was the biggest part of the game pretty much that you could play a demo from. So, and I think it got updated too. So it's no Final Fantasy 15 demo for sure. So it's not perfect. There's more that you could fit into it. A couple more side quests or something they could have thrown in. And this is supposed to be the first chapter of the game, first chapter I think of the game. And I can safely say that if I could beat the first chapter in 1.5 hours to 2 hours, I really hope there's a lot of chapters in the game because they're promising a lot of content. So I gave it a 4 on that promise, because the content in the game was pretty promising, and there's a lot of grindability and replayability in it. And from what we know will be coming to the game, there should be no shortage of content for the price, because their plan is to release a full game for the price, and that's it. So we will see if that turns out like that or not, but for now, based on this content and their promise, I'm giving it a 4. For fun, I gave it a 5. It's perfect. It's a fun game. It's not a perfect game, but the fun of the game is perfect. It's very action-packed for the short amount that it is. Very quick-paced, a decent amount of loot, which I love loot. And if you want, in a looter shooter, you want to hit a good balance of loot, not too much. Well, I say that, but Borderlands kind of goes to too much, and that's okay too. But you just don't want less. You don't want too less, because you get Anthem kind of problems then. But it's very fun for solo playing. Every class is extremely viable for solo play through an abundance of life leeching on guns, and just about every class, I think, when they kill a character, initiates health regen or a life leech type thing. So very viable game for solo play if you want to do that. But I could see it being even more fun with friends, combining abilities and playstyles and stuff. Oof, man, I could see this being a blast with, you know, a couple of your homies you grab up and you squad up and you get out there and combine your abilities, check out all the cool loot, and just level grind and do what you have to do. I could see it being even more fun, which is crazy because solo playing the game was fun. Very fun. So fun. Almost fun to a fault. The gameplay just felt cool. It felt smooth. It felt fun. The abilities and stuff cooled down to an acceptable rate, I think, where just about any time I was in another tight spot, if I was like playing very aggro, my abilities would pop up again, and I could, as like Devastator, put on the armor and then go out there and do a little ground slam earthquake thing and just really go at it. And same with the Pyromancer. I really enjoyed the Pyromancer as well. I think it's a fun game. I think it's a very fun game. So I gave fun 5, because to me it's a blast. The other games could have been the other rankings could have been very shitty, and fun still would have been a 5. It's just that fun of a game to me. Overall though, that is a 4.2 out of 5. I thought about rounding up even to 4.5, but I don't want to do that. And thought about rounding down to just doing 4, like no decimals, but for now we're going to keep it at a 4.2 out of 5 for Outriders demo. And remember, these are just my demo impressions. This is not the full game review because I can't review the full game yet. But let me know what you think about the game and your experiences with the game down in the comments, and whether you agree or disagree with me on my review of the demo. Be sure to hit that like button if you're excited for this game as well. Share this around to your friends and such that you think might care about reviews for video games. And also, be sure to hit that sub button for more game reviews in the future, gaming news, and gaming trailer reactions and stuff in general. Be sure to check me out on twitch.tv/ZenithDarksky as well. Either way, I'm Zenith Darksky. Thank you for watching, and get gaming.